Well, it's an iPhone. It's a Samsung. It's a Google phone. It's a whatever. It's smartphones. And basically, they're an extension of our hands and our arms now. Well, it wasn't that long ago when you went to the holidays, you didn't have a phone in your hand. Now everyone does. And everyone wants to check out everything going on, aka doomscrolling. Talk more about it. Thrilled to be joined by our friend Sim from Horizon Within, horizonwithin.ca. And that is one thing that's become part of these holiday get-togethers, Sim, is people all of a sudden you look around and everyone's on their phone looking at different things.
Absolutely. I remember, like, before the smartphone.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve get-togethers were kids were out.
Yep.
Either you were having a snowball fight,
Yes,
with your neighbors, or you were playing road hockey, or you're doing something or the other. And you weren't inside, and then everybody kind of like had their roles, and you came back in right before supper, ate supper. Either Home Alone was coming on, or Die Hard was coming on, depending on which TV channel you were allowed to watch. Some board games, and there was no people running away from each other.
Yes.
Right. And one disadvantage of having this technology come into, whether it was the iPads, because I think the iPads came a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Right. Because smartphones did come, but there was not that much of data. So the app, it wasn't app friendly. But, before you kind of understand like why people doom scroll, there's got to be an understanding of what happens to our mind and why we go to the phone, because holidays are overwhelming. And like how, we talked about in one of our previous podcasts about this overwhelm of hosting or the overwhelm of visiting.
Mm-hmm.
The brain can only take so much stress. And what passive scrolling gives you is it gives you a way to disassociate without it asking anything back. And it's giving you small bursts of dopamine, right? Like without any consequence to it. And now all of a sudden it becomes this mindless experience where you don't have to think.
And then time's passing by.
But it's just, you're just burnt out. You're
right. Okay.
So there's your cause and effect. What happens is that now this is becoming a more of a resource tool to replenish than it was before.
So what I try to do, especially on Christmas Day, is the only time I respond to my phone is if I'm getting a DM or a text from someone like wishing me a greeting, and I respond, "Oh, hey, thanks, happy holidays, Merry Christmas." Yeah. So if it's a family member or a close friend, other than that, I really try not to look at the phone whatsoever on Christmas Day. And that's, to be honest with you, it's getting harder and harder. You're like, "Oh, yeah, what's happening there? Let's check the weather." Remember, and then you get sucked in.
Yeah. I like how you position that, because a lot of us, depending on where we fit in the generational bracket, determines what it's giving us back. So when we look at it from like an observer's lens, and you're like, well, everybody's doom scrolling or everybody's doing mindless scrolling. But it's actually, if you look at it through each generational lens, there's actually a nuance that's unique to them. So imagine that, you have a Griswold family dinner, right? And now everybody's in the living room, and you have Gramps at 82, and then you have the young Griswold at like, I think 7. Yeah. So in modern time, if you bring them to 2025, you've got everybody, right? You got the boomers, you got the Xers, you've got the millennials, you got the Zs, and then you got the alphas, right? And so, if we go chronologically and we go all the way to the oldest, and you go to baby boomers, well, for them, it's passive scrolling, right? They're the Facebook people, like, looking at the feeds, right? It's not requiring animated stimuli,
right? Because
it's not changing. The reels don't change. And they're not into reels. They're more into like, oh, look, somebody posted Merry Christmas. And then there's like,
my comment made a goose.
Yeah, comment, right? Like, yeah. So for them, it's more of just passive restoration.
Okay, interesting.
Right? And, but everybody's replenishing, right? Like everybody's just tuned out and they're trying to get energy in. Come to the Generation Xers. This generation is the one that's carrying the weight. Because they're hosting, they're carrying, they're running the stuff and all of that. For them, it's a way to just, I need a minute. Because I just need a minute, because everybody may have shifted to the living room and they're all settling in. The Xers are either putting stuff away, or they're like prepping the dessert, or they're putting there's still a command that they have to run or remember or like do. So for them, now all of a sudden, this becomes 2 minutes of reprieve,
Right.
because there's no escape, right? And they need to reset because it switches the alarm. You come to the generation Y, right? For them, it's kind of like, okay, what is going on? Just a lot of inputs. So for them, it gives them a sense of control. It gives them a place where they don't have to engage. They can politely disassociate, right? And it becomes a shield. It becomes a shield, right? Because now all of a sudden, we're looking at a physical interruption, right? If somebody's got their headphones on, you're not going to interrupt them, right? Now you go one generation over to Gen Z. For Gen Z, it's like, so how's school? Or so, got it open?
Yeah.
Right? Like the typical, like dating anyone? Like, because they are in that 20s bracket, right? Or, so have you decided where you're going to major? Right? Like, so for them, it becomes the sense of like, okay, how do I not? Right? Because remember, we've all had dinner. You've already experienced overwhelm. So where are you going for recovery? You're going to your phone. But each generation now is going for very different reasons. But from an observer's lens, look at that. What happened to the love of family Christmas and like sitting by the crackling fire and turning on the radio? Boomers.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Xers. All right. Because you probably got either a hockey stick.
Yeah.
Skates.
Yeah.
Mittens. Something that you can put on.
And go outside.
And you've been kicked out.
Yeah.
Right. Because the street lights are on. You're outside. Or somebody on the street has made a rink in their backyard and all the kids are there. Well, the first three generations didn't have to worry about it, right? The Gen Ys, they were like the guys in the middle because they still had the nostalgia. Because technology hadn't taken over, it was just getting introduced.
And they were at the tail end of it.
They were at the start of it.
Oh, but the tail end of the nostalgia morphing into the technology, right?
The Zers were more on the tail end of it because even though the internet came on, it was still dial-up.
Right. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the web pages were very like MySpacey kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the Zers where it became much greater in demand. So now that need to go on, the content changed, the style of delivery changed. So most of Y still had that, right? Because even though it was on cable, Home Alone aired on the air on CTV or on Global, right? So it was still there.
Right.
The alphas, for them, it's that's what they've grown up on, right? They are the iPad generation.
The iPad.
They are the genuine iPad generation.
Yeah.
So for them, that's all they know.
Right.
So for them, it's a digital pacifier, right? And it's not a fault of theirs, right? It's not like, no, it's, you can only take in what you have in your environment. And if that is your digital pacifier, for us, it was the idiot box on a Saturday morning. Same thing. This is just more intimate. It's more imagic. And the span is a lot shorter because our cartoons, Looney Tunes ran for 3 to 5 minutes.
Right.
These run for 15 to 30 seconds. Obviously, the need to feed is more. So one of the simplest ways to understand doomscroll and energy replenishment, and rather than worrying about it and critiquing yourself or burdening yourself, the way I suggest for you to look at it, and CBT is wonderful because cognitive behavioral therapy, what it is about is it looks at how you process information cognitively, right? And it's about reframing. And reframing is basically looking at it in a different way. There's no science to it. It's just genuinely looking at it a different way. So a new or a different way to look at this is how you would have your macros for nutrients, right? Your carbs, your free proteins, and your fats. Look at your way of how you get energy in. So carbs are like carbs, right? They're quick, they're easy, but they burn you out faster, right? So social media is a carb.
Okay. I Now, a full disclosure, our youngest daughter has a mini dachshund, and now we've been sharing these stupid AI videos of dachshunds driving trucks and playing sports and cooking stuff, and I find them hilarious. Is that a carb?
It is, because just like in carbs, you have simple carbs and you have complex carbs.
This is really simple.
Right. So it's very easy not to understand, because you're not measuring content. You're measuring the energy it gives your dopamine rush.
Right, because it doesn't make me laugh and smile.
But it's short-lived.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you eat a bag of chips,
Yeah.
you're going to get a spike, or you eat a candy bar. Like, your what do they call it? The afternoon crash?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or the 2:00 crash.
Yes,
That's officially called.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole thing like, oh, you can grab a protein bar or you can grab a Kit Kat bar, right?
Yeah.
And the argument now is simple carb, Kit Kat bar, you get the energy, but then 45 minutes later,
You're like, oh.
right? Versus a protein bar, right? It's still in, or sorry, a fruit and nut bar.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Whatever, granola, whatever. The point is that complex bars will give you a spike, it'll last a little bit longer, but it's not going to sustain you and you're going to drop, right? And just like how when you're eating a meal, you're going to balance it out. You're not going to be a carb heavy plate, because if you may love carbs, often videos are it. Well, guess what? If your plate is only full of mashed potatoes and very little protein, who's not going to have energy? Same thing.
Right.
If you have a lot of simple carbs, where your dopamine boosts are always going to be narrow. That's where doom scrolling is feeding itself.
Right.
Because you're only feeding on simple carbs. You're not passing judgment. The whole objective when you're doing cognitive reframing is you're not critiquing your action. You're observing your action. And by looking at it from such a filter, what it's giving you a way to then look at it and go, okay, I understand that. Okay. Now, moving to proteins. Well, what are proteins? Proteins are something that will sustain you a bit longer, right? I equate proteins to something that requires some kind of movement. It could be a hobby of, do you like to color? It could be, I like word searches. It could be, I like knitting. It could be anything you like. It could be, I'm going for a walk, right? It could be, I'm going to go do the dishes.
Right.
It's an activity. As long as you enjoy it and it's not a chore, it serves as a protein. Fats, right? These are more where you need a longer time to not only digest, but the effects of it take longer, right? Like if you eat half an avocado, it'll give you sustained energy, but it'll give it to you 30 minutes later.
Right.
As opposed to that Kit Kat bar, which gave it to you immediately.
But it is good for you, the avocado.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is, because you're looking to replenish your energy.
Right.
Right? Because remember, we're sitting in a post-Griswold Christmas dinner. Watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Right? It's the phenomenal Christmas movie. So you've already depleted yourself. And remember, from your generational lens, each one has different. So like for a Generation Xer, right? They may need a dachshund video. You know why? Because they've got to put the coffee out and the pies in the oven. Yeah. And they're burnt out. Okay, fine. Boop, boop, boop. All right. I got my energy. Boom. Now everybody's done dessert. We're all chilling. Now you have a choice. Do I go for a complex carb? Because I still need to clear up the plates and go in there. And I add a little bit of protein. So maybe I'll do an activity. You know what, guys? I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk.
Yeah, because we have a dog, so that's my excuse to take the dog for a walk.
So there's your protein right there.
Oh, okay.
There's your protein right there.
Right.
Because you did an activity.
Okay.
Right. It's not, what I'm saying is you're looking at it through how you would eat a meal. So if you know you still need energy, now you're replenishing accordingly. Right. So you could be like, okay, you know what? I don't want a dachshund video. I want something a little bit more. Okay. You know what? Watch a True Patriot Love podcast. That's a complex carb. Why? Because it's engaging the mind.
It's not, you can listen.
Right. And more preferably my podcast.
Well, yes.
then it's the perfect complex.
And for me, I know, like, especially after the big heavy holiday meal, taking the dog around the block, the fresh air too, just being outside, I find that very, very invigorating.
But when you come back, you have energy.
Oh yeah, very much
That's
so.
protein.
Yeah.
It's like eating meat.
Right.
Because if you eat meat, you don't crash fast. Because
Right.
it's just like that. It's what I'm saying is you're matching it to that. And by making sure that it's an activity. The key word is activity, and it's based on your abilities, right? If doing a word search is an activity for you, it's an activity because you're engaging your mind, not through the digital lens. If reading a book, that's an activity. Listening to something on the radio, listening to music that you enjoy, they are all activities because you're engaging your mind to get energy from a different source.
So would this be considered approaching something my partner started a few years ago? Always, we take a little bit of time over the holidays and we call it crafty corner. We do like a group family craft of something just so we're not on the phone and not doing anything with electronics. So would that be a protein because we're doing a craft?
You're actually doing two things simultaneously. You're doing a protein fat combination.
Oh,
Because you've created a communal activity. So that's the self-care part, because now you're creating this family experience.
right. Okay.
That's a kind of like a fat, because, right? And at the same time, because it's an activity, that's your protein. Another good one is playing an I Spy movie
Yes.
game.
Yes.
And say you're watching Die Hard, right?
Of course.
Coincidental, is it a Christmas movie or not? Which means it has to be played every Christmas.
It is,
Right?
To me, it does.
So you can have this sheet with 10 items that you got to find on it.
Oh, great.
And now you've made it an activity.
And you're actively watching.
You're watching, but you're collectively watching.
Okay.
You've changed the thing versus doom scrolling slow and grandpa doom scrolling slow and grandma doom scrolling. Because generationally, remember, we're going to replenish, but for different reasons. And it has different value. Just like that simple carb metabolizes differently for a 6-year-old versus a 35-year-old versus a 45-year-old versus an 80-year-old versus an athlete. Now we can get into the variations, right? That's where it becomes a personal conversation. The idea of this is that it prevents you from becoming a self-critic and putting yourself in a situation is, I need better resources. Well, this is a way for you to have better resources, because then you can take a step back and go, okay, I need energy. These things give me energy. I've put it on my website as well. There's an article and it breaks it down a bit.
Okay.
Same thing with, I have an activity guide that you can download. And on it, there's about 9 movies you can pick from for the I Spy movie. I've got,
It's a great concept.
there's Ghostbusters on there. There's Toy Story.
Oh, right.
Elf, Shrek, Die
Good
Hard,
family movies.
Love Actually.
Oh, Love Actually is a great movie.
It's a classic movie.
Yeah.
You know, Jerry Maguire's on there.
Okay.
So because the idea is then, you know, if you want to have somebody, an activity that want to bring everybody together, you want to involve somebody, because that's the whole point of coming away from this. But you're giving them something to build on, right? Something to congregate around. You could have somebody that doesn't want to, I have 3 to 5 different word searches games, like from easy all the way to difficult. I have 5 sheets of drawing color paper or coloring images, right? There's a little bit something for everybody. And then there's a section on hot takes where if you're like one of those families that loves debates, right? A good one that's on there is, who would you rather have as a boss, the Grinch or the Scrooge?
Oh, ooh.
Who's a better sidekick, Buzz Lightyear or the donkey?
The donkey.
Right?
Right.
Right?
That goes without saying.
Right? I mean, what's it? Far and beyond? Like, I don't. What is this? Up and away or whatever?
To infinity and beyond.
Infinity and beyond.
Infinity and beyond. So I wanted to tie into a previous podcast we did, Sam, because not everyone is going to understand that it's okay to take a few minutes to be in your phone. Someone's going to get their, and is this where they go back to, it is what it is, and not get stressed that some people are on their phone after the dinner?
Can you walk me through this a bit, Miss?
So, like, someone's doing something after the dinner, they're not on their phone, and they're getting a little stressed that everyone's on their phone after the meal. So instead of letting the stress get to them, just, it is what it is.
Twofold to that answer. First, I feel that it is you, not you, but you.
Yeah.
Right? That is the one that is kind of orchestrating, and you're wanting to create this family experience. So having that frustration, yes, use the SANA technique. And what it is, you know, for the listeners here, it's SANA stands for S, you see the environment, right? So in this scenario, you're like, okay, You just had a good dinner. Everybody's kind of hanging out. Why are you on the phone? Okay. You want to ask, what is it I'm feeling? So, feelings of, it'd be like annoyance or frustration. Name them. Explore them, right? And then name your reaction to those feelings. So with this one, you'd be like, getting angry.
Yeah.
Right? Or,
Frustrated.
I'm going to lose it. Right?
Yeah.
So now you've named your reaction, because you need to name the reaction, not the feeling. Because by asking what you're feeling, you've technically named it. Okay. Now that you've named your reaction, now you can take a breath and go, okay, it is what it is. Now that doesn't mean you're going to let it be, because you still need to resolve it. Now you take an act, which is the last part of Sana, with connection. So now you're saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Okay, what does that mean? What that means is that having everyone together is important. That's the tough part. Get going means, how do I find a resolution that hits both? So while you're also seeing the age bracket of that. So if it's somebody that's a boomer, right, then make sure that you're not watching Die Hard, because there's no connection.
Right.
So for them, they're like, I'm not watching an hour. It doesn't connect to me. Well, guess what? You go, okay, I don't want you on the phone. I want you more protein, right? But you can't go for a walk. You can't,
Right.
You know what? What about a word search? So you find, because there's 5 different ones, and you go, hey, would you mind? And they're all Christmas words, right? Or here's a couple crayons, and the art, you can give it to a 5-year-old, or you can be 80 years old. It's Christmas art. It's tree, ornament. There's no age to Christmas art. So you find them there, right? Or you then could be like, you know what? I don't also need to watch the movie. I'll spend time here. So there's a solution to everything. If it's Generation Y or Generation Z, there's a bit of negotiation. Right? I think that's a fair ask, because now you're not imposing your beliefs or your views, because that's not what it's about. And you're saying, hey, look, explain to them carb, protein, fats. They'll understand it, because everybody understands it. It's very simple, right? You're not becoming technical. And you're saying, hey, look, I understand that you're looking to replenish your energy, right? Why don't you try this for 45 minutes? Why don't you try this for the first 10 minutes of the movie? Why don't you try this?
Right.
And if you're not enjoying it, we'll have a conversation. If you still feel you need some private time, now we can put a time limit on it. But what you've done is you've not created friction.
Bingo. That's what I was thinking, because by doing that, by the negotiation and empowering the younger person,
You're respecting them.
I would think they would appreciate that.
But you also understand where they're coming from.
Right.
Because now, if it's a Gen Z, they're coming from a sense of control, right? Well, you could be like, okay, they don't want to be bombarded with 80 questions. That's why they're avoiding. You're matching it, because now you're able to, instead of interrogating them, you're able to have awareness and go, okay, that's what it is.
Because you might be the relative that haven't seen them all year. So now you're filled with questions. How about this? How about that? And they're like, easy. Whoa, stop.
Well, and it still happened to us.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like we didn't experience it.
No, absolutely.
So there's no wrong in it. I think it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is on all sides. I'm not saying, we have to tolerate it. It is what it is. Doesn't mean that you have to tolerate discomfort. It is what it is saying, look, this is my reality. What can I do to work with it to get what I need?
Now, I'm not doomscrolling. I'm making sure you understand about the Christmas activity pack on his website, horizonwithin.ca, so you are ready for the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an easy download. You just go on it and it'll just take you right to the page, and you can take whichever activity you like. And
that's the beauty thing about it, is maybe it's just 1 or 2 things you utilize, but that could be the difference between having a frustrating holiday experience and a more enjoyable holiday experience.
And that's what it's about.
And
having an enjoyable holiday experience.
He's Sim, I'm Jim. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.